Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Me and Mike spent a lot of time on the road. We're no strangers to the road trip. And what better way to pass the time than with a free audiobook download from our friends at Audible?
Yeah, I listened to 3 books on my last trip this weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I only listened to one, but I had people in the car and they didn't want to listen with me.
How dare they?
So all you have to do is score yourself a 30-day free trial and a free download at audibletrial.com/eggshow. Audible has more than 180,000 titles to choose from. You can listen to on your iPhone, your Android, your Kindle, any device you can imagine. And for our listeners, fans of the show, you can download a free audiobook today by visiting audibletrial.com/eggshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/eggshow for your free audiobook and free 14-day trial.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Or 30-day trial. Holy shit, 30-day trial.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 30-day. Well, the 1 month subscription is like $15. I could see credit, so you get the first month free. Essentially, is what it is.
Awesome.
I think. Yes. Anyways, yeah.
Killer. Totally worth doing. Totally check it out. Thanks to our friends at Audible. And one last time, that's audibletrial.com/eggshow.
Cool. Well, how you been, buddy?
Doing good, man. So we're back in the studio, Ontic Studios in sunny Pocatello, Idaho. We've just come off a exciting and memorable Memorial Day holiday. I spent the weekend up in sunny Boise, Idaho, which is always a fan favorite and a great place to hang. Miguel did his share of road tripping over the last week or two.
Yeah, I left Tuesday last week.
Yeah, a little truth in advertising in that Audible spot. We definitely spent some time on the road this week.
How was Boise?
Boise is so good. So for people who've never been there, I definitely encourage going. They call it the City of Trees, and it lived up to its billing.
What? The City of Trees?
The City of Trees. I know people, you may not think of it as that, but that's what they call it.
Okay.
And but there are trees everywhere, so it makes sense to call it that. And
coming from Seattle, I differ.
Right.
I beg to disagree.
Yeah, I imagine the Washingtonians and the Oregonians might have a thing or two to say about it. But yeah, Boise's called the City of Trees. Pretty sure, unless I'm jacked up on my Idaho trivia, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
I'm going to Google it just to prove you wrong.
I'm going to be proved right, by the way. So anyway, Boise is the right mix of big city, small town, and like time up in the mountains and all that stuff. So it's sort of nestled in a valley surrounded by mountains. And, it's got this awesome river. The Boise River runs through it. It's super cool. It was running really high and really fast this week. So super dangerous, but it was really cool. We spent some time in a park, just hanging out by the river, and it was beautiful. Couldn't have been better. The weather was great. Yeah, it was really cool. So
what brought you there?
So we had originally, it was kind of a long weekend. So on Friday, we ducked out early and had to get to Pocatello for my nephew Anthony's graduation. So he's the first baby born in our family. Is my brother-in-law's son. And he is, now subsequently the first one to graduate. And so of all the grandkids, grandsons, and cousins and nephews.
Isn't he a twin?
No. But he does have a younger brother. It's like
okay.
2 years. They're like 18 months apart or something. They may as well be twins. So anyway, but he graduated this weekend. So we came up on Friday to attend the graduation ceremony. It was as long and boring as the one that I was in when I graduated. However,
with the last name Rogar.
Yeah, I had to wait all the way to the R's. However, the cool thing was, so Anthony was one of the valedictorians allowed to speak before the before the procession or before they handed out all the whatever they call them, diplomas. And Anthony, God, I don't know exactly, but he's like a 4.3 student or something. Like he has almost 60 credits towards college already.
That's insane.
And so he's really bright kid, really cool guy, and yeah, he's basically got 2 years of school and then he'll be out of college, so well ready to start into his master's or doctorate, I guess. He's going to be a heart surgeon.
They had a running start program in Tacoma when I was graduating. I was able to go to college and get college credits while I was in high school, but I was young and dumb and didn't take advantage of it like I should have.
Yeah, me neither. I took like one AP class, but I didn't pursue honor society or any of that other stuff. And I wish I had in retrospect. And, this kid, my nephew Anthony, is just like, he's a super hardworking kid. Really,
he's into baseball too a lot. And his schedule had to be insane. Plus keeping a 4.3. That's
Yeah, he's a really driven kid. He's good about, when he sets his mind to something, following through and doing it. And so he had a talk before the graduation ceremony or during the ceremony, where he sort of, addressed the class like they do. And he gave, almost a commencement speech that felt almost like a university level. He gave a very cool talk, and actually I was myself a little bit inspired by it or taken back by it, and published an article this weekend on it.
Nice.
And so
I have to go and read that.
Yeah, it's on
LinkedIn.
It's on Medium. You can find the link on LinkedIn, but it's on this platform called Medium. It's just medium.com, and you can search for my name, or it's at Ryan Rogar on Medium. And you can find this article I wrote, and basically the subject was to give up on your dreams, or it's okay to give up on your dreams. The name of my article is "It's Okay, Give Up on Your Dreams." And and at first it was a little bit shocking to a lot of people in the crowd, because he sort of started the speech off with a little bit of, the normal kind of, shout outs to friends and, thanks to administrators and all that kind of stuff, the normal kind of banter you'd expect. And then he said, well, hey, I want to make sure that everybody leaves with something memorable. So I want you to know, give up on your dreams. And so, and the crowd got kind of silent, and there was actually a dude behind me, like a grandpa or somebody behind me. He's like, what the hell did he just say? And it kind of took everybody back at first. And, basically he spun it as, everybody should be confident enough, learned enough, everything you need to be enough, so that when dreams change or when realities change and you can no longer chase that dream, that you're brave enough to power through it.
Yeah.
And so I think it was actually a pretty good message there at its core, because, and as I talk about in this article, from a young age, as a little kid, you're being asked, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? Well, I mean, as a 5-year-old,
fireman.
You have no frame of reference for what you actually want to do when you're older. I mean, you have no clue, you have no research, you have no study, you have no interests, you have, Well,
you have no life skills, you have nothing to equate it to.
Well, I mean, as a 5-year-old, you love G.I. Joe or Barbie or whatever you're into, and that's kind of it, and you happen to have the fireman Joe or whatever, and so you're into firemen, or you're into police, or you're into whatever, and I mean, those are all valid professions and good professions for people, but, it's cute to get these answers from kids, but if you really sit back and think about it, you're asking this person to make a decision on what they're going to do for the rest of their life to support their family. When they're wholly not capable of deciding.
Well, I know like one or two people that just knew in high school exactly what they wanted to do and went and did it.
Yeah, and I think that definitely exists. And I think that,
those are the guys that end up being doctors and dentists and stuff, just know at an early age, so this is what I want to do. And then they go and spend the 10 years to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I think that being aspirational, or allowing your child to say, hey, I want to be an astronaut, it's okay to aspire, even if they never become an astronaut, aiming high and shooting high and, trying to achieve big things, I think is going to be a strong characteristic in any kid and any, sort of human. But even, into high school, into college, and a lot of times even well into adulthood, you still just aren't, you're not fully formed yet. I mean, you haven't had the life experiences to know exactly what you want to be. And the point of Anthony's speech was sort of that you don't have to know. It's okay to have dreamed to be one thing, but if you decide down the road that that's not it anymore, or if realities change and you want to chase down something else, then that's perfectly fine too. And you should be brave enough to audible, be brave enough that when that dream changes, that you can turn the corner and chase it. Don't fall into a pit of despair, rather audible and become something different.
Well, speaking of that, there's a book talking about an astronaut's journey. Mike Massimino is the astronaut. If you ever watch Big Bang Theory, he makes a couple of guest appearances on that. But he talks about the process of becoming an astronaut and what it took to be. He went and worked on the International Space Station and I mean, like, just the story behind him getting ready to go and the process that he went through, starting in like the 60s and 70s, watching, you know, like the first Apollo trips. And he knew at an early age that that's what he wanted to do. And he just kept going and going and going. And he finally got there. And part of it was his health. He wasn't, I can't remember exactly what problem he had, but he couldn't pass the physical 2 or 3 times. And he literally had to go and just change his diet, change his lifestyle, and get everything kind of put in the right order just to be able to go on a trip. And I think he went up twice, and it's just a really good book to listen to if you're ever wanting something to check out on Audible/eggs.
Eggs Show.
Yeah.
Or Eggs Cast.
Audible Trial /Eggs Cast.
We should know this, Mike.
Yes.
Audible Trial /Eggs Show.
Egg Show, that one. Yeah, go listen to that. I think it's called Spaceman, and the astronaut is Mike Massimino.
Yeah, and I think that's a good moral, right? Is this idea of stick-to-itiveness? We talked about it a lot on this show. The idea of picking goals and sticking to them, or chasing down things and having the sort of the resolve to continue to fight and try and earn what you want. And it's true with anything. I mean, career or whatever you want. Everything requires that grind and that hustle. So,
and I think he was like some sort of like electrical engineer or something like that was the reason that took him up there in the first place. But yeah, he was shooting to be an astronaut, but his degree in in electronics and becoming an engineer and all the stuff that he had to do to get to be an astronaut, even if he didn't end up making it, he's got a good career.
Right.
So
yeah. So anyway, it was kind of fun because, like I said, when Anthony led off with this "give up on your dreams" line, everybody gasped. But as he got through it and started to really navigate the point, I think that people sort of, came online. I think when people first heard it or started to hear him talk about this, they got real introspective, like really quickly.
Oh, really?
You're like, because because there are a lot of people, in the later years and things like that who have been chasing the same dream, but maybe the dream should have changed, or maybe, the dream did change and they didn't follow it, or whatever it is, and so I think that there were some really teachable moments in this talk, and so I think it was actually pretty mature for a young guy to have this kind of talk with his classmates, and I think it was impactful, which was sort of his goal, I think.
Oh, that's good.
So anyway, so really cool, and actually at that, if you go and check out my article on Medium, I actually have the video of Anthony's speech at the bottom of it, so you can tune in and listen to his actual talk.
Cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. So anyway, kind of fun. So anyway, so that was Friday. So we came up for the graduation. On Saturday, we joined some family in Pocatello for a barbecue. We had some family members that had flown in from Arizona and stuff to attend the graduation.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, so you were there and they were here. And
traded places.
Yeah. So those guys came up. We got to spend some time with my wife's brother from Arizona, who we don't get to see all that often. So it was cool to spend some time with him. And really that whole batch of guys from that side of Tia's family, my wife's family, her brother and everybody, they're some of my favorite people, but we don't get to see them too often. So,
12-hour drive down there just to see them.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was cool to catch up with everybody. So anyway, around 5 or 6 o'clock after the barbecue, we decided we would zip up to Boise. And the hopes were that we were going to catch
in the afternoon.
Yeah. So we didn't leave until like 5 o'clock. And Boise's about a 3.5 hour drive from Pocatello. We made pretty good time, so we made it in about 3 hours. But it was, kind of a slog at 6 o'clock after we'd been hanging out.
Especially after eating.
Yeah. And so, but the purpose was that my niece was up there playing in a soccer tournament, and so we were using that kind of as an excuse. We'd go watch her play some soccer and then just kind of hang for the weekend. By the time we got there, her team had been eliminated from the tournament, so we actually never got to see her play. However, we were already in Boise, so when in Boise, do as the Boiseans do, I guess. And so we hung out.
Yeah,
and,
Boise's a fun place to just kick it.
It really is a great city. It's got the right mix of eclectic and artsy and city.
College crowd.
Yeah,
it's got good football team.
Yeah, the bar scene's cool. There's a lot of really great things about Boise.
Well, in the bar scene, they're all kind of on one little strip, so you can bar hop and walk around and see 7 or 8 different bars and get a different experience at each one.
Yeah, there's some really cool ones. This one, I think it's called the Reef. It's got like this rooftop bar thing, and with the tiki torches burning and stuff, and it's really cool. It's a fun scene.
There's one that I like. There's 2 actually. Fatty's is a kind of nightclub one that my buddy Mark works at, and that's kind of a college crowd. It's a good fun college bar. And then the other one is Dirty Little Roddy's.
Yeah, that place is awesome.
That one's cool because it's like a mix between a country bar and a hip hop bar, kind of combined. And they got a mechanical bull and a few other things, so it makes for a fun time.
Yeah, it's awesome. That whole street's great. Yeah. And another like interesting thing about Boise, and maybe we've talked about it on the show before, but I'm not sure, is that they have this population of about 25,000 Basque people there. And,
that's right. Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Spanish food and everything. So of course the number one on my list was to go catch some Spanish food while we were there.
Where'd you go?
We didn't. I got screwed, and I didn't get any. And so it was disappointing. But there are some really cool. They're technically Basque restaurants, but they have some good Spanish food there too. And so it's a good place to check out. The food's great, everything's great, and so so Boise was cool. So we hung out just at the hotel and everything on Saturday. Sunday we went out to the Old Idaho Penitentiary, which I've actually never been to. It was built in like the late 1800s, like I don't know, 1886 or something like that. And so it's kind of old, all built out of stone quarried from the mountain right there behind it. And it's got a lot of old history and stuff from sort of early settling of Idaho.
That's cool.
And so it's pretty cool. They had some old famous cattle rustlers and crap like that. People from the old West days that had been locked up there for a little bit. But what's really interesting is that the prison just closed in like 1973.
Oh wow!
So it's like kind of recent.
Yeah.
But when you walk through the place, it's old, man. So it's like I don't know how it kept anybody in, but the later cell blocks that they built were a little more modernized, I guess. But it still looked pretty ancient, most of it. And but in 1973 there was a prison riot there, and they burned down a bunch of the buildings and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so some of the older early buildings from the property had been burned and stuff like that. So but it was really cool. A lot of history for this area anyway, or for the Boise area. And something cool to check out. God, we were there maybe 3 or 4 hours.
I bet the boys loved it.
Yeah, it was really cool. My oldest especially is kind of a history nut, and so he really enjoyed it. And and honestly, I had quite a good time there. I thought it was pretty cool and interesting to see. And it's such a, I don't know, it's such a weird facility, because if you watch any of these TV shows where it's maximum security prison or whatever, these prisons nowadays look like fortresses that are insane and high security and all this stuff. But this place was just super antiquated. I get 73 was, I don't know, 40 some years ago now, but it doesn't seem like that long ago.
Well,
and so
down in Phoenix, I think they still do the tent city.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a friend of mine down there who's been in it twice. He's like, it's it's one thing if it was not 115 degrees out, and not I guess they have to pay like $130 a day that they're in there to be in there, and it's like for him, he was there for a DUI situation, and I think he'd get dropped off in the morning, have to just sit there and twiddle his thumbs all day, pay $130 or $140 to be there for the day, and then get picked up and go to work, and then he'd get dropped off again in the morning and do it again for like a
worst
month
hotel
straight.
ever.
Yeah. But the idea behind it is there. I could see how it would be cheaper to do a quote unquote tent city or whatever, but at the same time, it's pretty jacked.
Yeah. Well, and I think if it's the same place I'm thinking of, I think the sheriff dresses him up in pink and stuff,
and pink underwear and everything. Is just Joe Arpaio was the guy that was behind it, and there was a bunch of drama with.
Yeah, he's
that.
I think having some political heat right now, but
whatever.
But anyway, kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so anyway, then Sunday night we just worked our way back to Pocatello, did a little barbecue, or no, Monday night. I mean, worked our way back to Pocatello for a little barbecue, and it is now Tuesday morning at like 9, and I have a meeting in a few hours in Salt Lake, so we're booking it out of here as soon as we can.
What's I set my alarm for 6:30 this morning, and I feel like I'm already tired.
Yeah, no, that's been one of the things. So for folks who've been listening to the show for the last little bit, especially in the last, I don't know, month or month and a half, we've had a couple CEOs on. And as I've been looking for sort of guidance in my business, these guys have been really influential. And the one that sort of really I took and ran with, whose ass I've been kissing consistently for 3 weeks, is this dude, Ryan Carson from Team Treehouse. And so one of the things we talked about with him was sort of daily routine. And it's funny because as we've talked to other CEOs about their routine, it's very similar. But one of the things he does is, he wakes up about 4:30 in the morning and he starts his day, and he's got sort of a routine that he sticks to. And so after that talk, I started doing a 4:30 a.m. thing too.
How's it been?
For me, it's been spectacular. And so to Mike's point about being a little bit sleepy, by this time in the morning, like I have to keep moving. Otherwise I start getting tired. And I'm hoping it gets easier as I get more used to doing it. And if I get too late to start at night and then have to get up too early, like if I don't get to bed until like midnight or 12:30 or something, then it's hard to get up at 4, So, I mean, there's been a few days that I'll have slept in or I just didn't get up, but I'm trying to get into that habit. And so today was one of those days I got up at 4:30. And what I love about it is, I have 2 kids. And so basically that gives me about 3 hours before school that I can just kind of have for me.
Yeah.
And what I've been trying to use that time for is sort of self-growth, personal development type stuff, learning, different things, watching videos, YouTube videos and stuff, training myself up on different things, a lot of sales type stuff lately, just the sorts of the things that I need to be doing in my business that aren't my best things or aren't my favorite things to do. I'm finding that, I've got to push myself through.
Yeah.
And I have to start doing the things I don't want to do, even though it's uncomfortable. And it's funny that I'm just doing this at 38 because I feel like I'm such an old person for just figuring shit out now. But the more I talk to people and the more I network with people, like I'm finding like I'm not unique. Everybody is still trying to navigate their path at this age. You hear stories about these 26-year-olds that have gone out and made $1 gazillion on some social network, but that's definitely the exception, not the rule.
Definitely, and a lot of them, I'm sure, have daddy's money and daddy's support to help.
There's a lot of that, and and a lot of it too is just appearances are deceiving. It might look like they're doing really great, but they're not, or they're short term doing great and then it's gone. Or
that's funny that you said that too. Is there's this kid that I met the other day who just got a settlement, and it was pretty significant settlement. I don't know exactly how much it was, but it was a good chunk of change. And he's sitting here talking, well, I bought this, I did that, and I did this, I did that. And I'm like going, man, you're young enough to, if you use that money and invest it and reinvest it into something that's going to make you some money, you could do a lot with that. But what it looks like is going to happen, he's going to blow through it in about 3 weeks and just be where he was before with nothing to gain from it. And that to me is, because I've been there, I've been that kid,
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, even in my own life I was that way. My dad passed away when I was pretty young, like when I was 18, and he didn't leave me a lot of money, but I got a little bit of coin, and I was 18.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, I ran out, got a new car, I bought at least 2 motorcycles.
I was a loan officer for a few years down in Phoenix, and the first couple paychecks that I got, getting a $15,000 paycheck was awesome. What I do, I went and bought a leather couch, bought a new bed set, bought a new, just blew it. Had a nice living situation for a year or two, and then, oh, hey, I don't have that money anymore,
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, like literally everything I bought with the money from my dad is like gone. The only thing I got that's of any value, and I still, haven't sort of capitalized on that, I guess, as I paid for some of my school that way. So I didn't end up taking as much student loan as a lot of other people did.
That's good.
I mean, I still took plenty, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I took maybe half of what I would have otherwise. And so, but now I have nothing. And, you know, if I had been wiser about it, or if I had taken advantage of the fact that, I mean, because I had the money with a financial advisor, I just was taking it from him, you know, despite his advice. I mean, if I had that money now, just that little bit of coin, you know, to invest in something or to use to kick off a project or something, like, I mean, I probably could have done a lot more with it as a more mature person.
Well, and had I been thinking, I mean, I could have reinvested that time that I was making good money as a loan officer and bought a house. My cousin bought a house right around that same, it was the 2000, I got out of it because of the crash. And in 2008, when it turned, we were specializing in VA and FHA refinances, so we were getting people from like 10% down to 4%, and so it was a good deal. It was, I mean, everyone wanted to refi and get in that lower rate. You know, I mean, their payments were half of what they were. They got some cash out or whatever. It was easy to be a loan officer at that time.
Sure.
If I would have been smart and held on to that money and used it on like a down payment for a house or whatever, my cousin bought a house when it crashed. And then it sat on it for a few years. The economy came back. He made a grip load of money on the house.
Yeah.
Then went and bought another one when he sold that one. So, I mean, I could have done it. Hindsight 2020, I was an idiot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I was the same. You know, I mean, I took that advantage I could have had and I blew it. I mean, I could have just, if I hadn't bought all this other stuff, cars and motorcycles and all this crap, I could have easily just paid for my school and had no debt.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean, I really set myself up poorly. You know, and so I think it's really important to, you know, take, you know, the time to listen to other people and take advice and, you know, try and be smart with your money. I'm still not as good about it as I need to be. I'm still a pretty irresponsible adult, especially with this late, my shoe habit of late. But I am trying to back off a little bit and cut some stuff out and see if we can't start making some better choices.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, for me, it's so hard. Not like I almost spent $300 on microphones this weekend when really, you know, I have other bills I got to pay, and it's like, but it's such a good sale right now, you know.
Yeah.
And,
no, it's hard. And I mean, you know, we're pretty transparent on this show and talk about these kinds of things, you know, and sort of cop to our imperfections, because there are plenty. And but I think it's sort of also good to talk about that stuff as sort of a just to show that we're kind of all a work in progress. Yeah. You know, we've talked about them a little bit on the show, maybe in recent episodes too, as I've been in this like new business push. But I've been watching a lot of this Gary Vaynerchuk stuff. And, you know, so for people who don't know him, he's kind of, I'm sure you've seen little video clips of him. He's usually the guy swearing and telling people to knock it off. Or, you know, that he doesn't give a shit about whatever. That's usually him. But there's a lot of good content that he's producing, and he produces mountains of it, and he's got it on just about every subject. But, you know, one of the things that he really pushes is, you know, being financially smart and not running out and buying the Lexuses and the, you know, getting the Rolex and not buying the gold chains and all this shit, you know, and really, really being smarter about your money. So, stop trying to be a baller before you're a baller.
I can't remember who, Porter Rock, my homie in Seattle, was telling me about a guy that, had like a plan to get out of debt kind of thing, like, or not even necessarily just to get out of debt, but like, say you want that $20,000, $30,000 car, right? When you go and you finance it, you're paying, you know, X amount of dollars a month in interest. Whereas if you were to take it and you went and bought the $1,000 car that you can afford to pay cash, and you drive that around for a year, but at the same time, you just set that $300, $350 monthly amount that you would be paying towards your car aside, you know, you drive the $1,000 car around for a year. Now you got $3,500, $4,000 set aside that would have been your car payment. And at the end of the year, you take that $1,000 car, you sell it, and you take the $4,000 that you had. Now you have $5,000 you can put into a nicer car, and you drive that $5,000 car around for a year. Same thing. At the end of the year, you flip that, you get your $5,000 back, or $4,500 after, you know, whatever loss you would have taken. and you have the extra $4,000 or whatever it would have been for your car payment. Now you have $10,000 you can go, and within 2 or 3 years, you go from having a piece of shit car to having your Beamer or your Audi or whatever $30,000 car you want, but it's paid in cash instead of paying that, 6 or 7% interest rate that you're paying on your car. That's pretty high these days, actually, but the interest adds up. And if you take a 6-year loan out on a car, the first 3 years, 4 years of it is just paying for the interest.
Right.
And then the last 2 years is paying the principal. And so if you could just pay cash, you'll save a grip load of money over the years.
Yeah, and I think, and feel free, email the show or contact us if I butcher this too much, but I think there's a dude, I keep wanting to call him Gordon Ramsay, but it's something else Ramsay.
Yeah, I think that's the guy that Porter Rock was telling me about.
Okay.
And I can't remember his name, but he was just telling me, like, yeah, I've been implementing that in my own life, and it's amazing. He's got a pretty nice car, and it's paid off.
It's Dave Ramsey.
Probably.
So anyway, Dave Ramsey, he basically proposes this sort of approach to debt that's kind of a snowball. So it's sort of what Mike was describing, incremental change. But the way he talks about it for debt is, you're paying all these different debts. Well, focus all your energy on one. And then once that's paid for, take the money you were paying on that and apply it to the second.
And I think you start with the smallest one. So like, say, for example, you got a credit card with $500 on it, right? Pay that off first. Then move on to the next smallest one, pay that off next. And then before you know it, you're working on, you take the same payment and apply it to the next one and to the next one. So like the $500 one, say it was $20 a month. Then you have $1,000 one that's like $300 a month, whatever. Yeah. You apply the same amount.
Just compound. Yeah. So you take that $20 from the first payment, move it into the second. So now you're paying $320.
Yeah.
Then you move to the next one that's $500 payment, but you bring over the payment from the other two. So you're paying $820.
And before you know it,
and then you're paying so much money per month down on these cards that you pay down your debt.
Same thing with like a house payment, just that extra, if you pay more on top of the interest, you'll pay it off a lot faster.
I can't remember exactly what it is, but I want to say it's like 1 or 2 more house payments per year. It will like cut your house loan like in half if you have a 30-year.
Well, and on that topic too, like go with the 15-year, man. A 30-year, like 15 years of paying, an extra $200, $300 a month just to have that 15-year instead of 30-year will make a huge difference over the life of the loan. Like it's insane how much interest you end up paying on a 30-year versus a 15-year.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. I'm not like,
yeah,
100% knowledgeable on it. I
was going to say we should probably put like an asterisk in there. This financial advice is for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah,
because we definitely can't be trusted.
For idiots from idiots.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we definitely can't be trusted to talk about money.
I just know, like the moral of the story is don't give your money away to paying interest if you can avoid it. Like just pay cash. I try to pay cash for all the equipment I buy, and it's cool because you don't have that looming debt, and then you have the equity in the equipment too, which is nice because you get in a pinch, you can go and pawn something or something like that. It's like all my money's tied up in gear, so if I get in, my transmission blows up, I got to sell some gear.
Yeah. But, I think that's sort of words to the wise, but it's also definitely one of those do as we say, not as we do things. So because I think we know how to behave, but I'm not particularly disciplined anyway.
The reason I pay cash for everything is because I messed up early, and I'm speaking from experience. I'm a walking idiot that's kind of in recovery right now. I'm getting out of it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. So with that, then I guess we covered my trip. We went off on a crazy tangent, but let's talk about yours. So Mike left last Tuesday to Arizona on a mission to DJ in the South.
Dude, that was a really, really, really fun trip. Shout out to Jeff Jones. He's a DJ down there in Phoenix. He owns a company called Direct Sounds. Speaking of him, we should probably hit him up and get him on the show at some point. He's an all around business guy, man. He dabbles with everything. He DJs. He has a mobile company, has a couple guys that he has cover for him here and there. He keeps it pretty small because the bigger you get, the more responsibility and more chances of having, problems.
Sure.
But yeah, he does a few hundred gigs a year, works for a couple venues, wedding venues. He's also a real estate agent down there. He's got that going. Just a really all in all cool dude. So shout out Jeff. Thanks for having me down. It was awesome. Got down there on Wednesday and, did a day at Starbucks working. Then Thursday, I played at a place called Dos Gringos in Mesa. And that was a really fun night because, Thursdays are usually slower. They're not your crazy weekend crowd, which that kind of allows me to kind of just go off the rails a little bit and do me.
Yeah.
And I'm all over the place. Like I was playing Ace of Base to Sublime to Justin Timberlake to, just whatever the people were kind of grooving to. And it was a really fun night. Friday night, I played at another Dos Gringos, but that was in Chandler, and that was a really fun night as well. It's more of a hip hop crowd there, and I kind of went a little too hard in the hip hop, I think. I was having fun. I met this guy there. I think his name's Pat, but he's a DJ. I think he goes by DJ Psychopat or something like that. Spins for a radio station down there. He came out and we tagged on and off throughout the night. Like I started, he jumped on for a half hour. I jumped on for a half hour. He jumped back on, and it was fun to split the night off and to see another like I love playing with other DJs. It makes me kind of just like, oh, that's cool. He did like a live mashup of Mi Gente, and I can't remember the beat he used, but it was cool to watch him do that and cool to watch him do his thing.
It's always cool to kind of watch the craft, watch the people that are good at it or learning it or whatever, and sort of see what they're capable of producing.
What I like to do too is, because I think every performer kind of gets in these ruts where they have their go-tos, their songs that they, know will work and they use a lot. But it's fun for me to go and watch another DJ and see what songs he plays and see how the crowd reacts to him. Because there's sometimes, like I'll double guess myself before I'm like, oh, this will work, but I don't want to play it. And then you see like, oh, well, he played it and it went off great. Why was I second guessing myself? And so it's good to play with other people just so that you can, see different styles and reactions based off of, their style. Then, so that was Friday night. Saturday, I played at a place called the Wigwam Resort. It was a poolside party from 2 to 6, and that was a lot of fun. That was cool because it was kind of I was doing a lot of like the 311s, the reggae, and just kind of like a groovy poolside set. And I picked this group of people that was sitting by the pool, and I just kind of watched them and watched what was getting them going. And 311 was one that was getting them going, nice. So I kind of went on to that. And when they walked out of the pool, like the dude, he went to give me a high five, but he gave me like 5 high fives in a row, like, and my hand was hurting, and I'm like, damn, dude.
He was really into it.
He was really into it, which was good, I guess, but that was fun. Then I had to meet up with Jeff after that and drop gear off to him. And he was playing at Dos Gringos Mesa that night. So I stuck around and I kicked it with him. And we ended up tagging out that night as well. And I ended up staying the whole night. I wasn't planning on it. I was planning on leaving like 10. And stayed to the end. And he gave me a ride home afterwards. I had a few drinks. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I could have gone. I love it down there. And for people who don't know, back in me and Mike's history, we used to work down there quite a bit. He was living there, and I would come down, and
you were there every other month.
For a while,
about
maybe a year. And we were doing concerts and different events and stuff down there. And so in that period of time, I really came to just love it down in Phoenix and in that area. I also have some family in Tucson. And so we like to get down there as often as we can. It's a cool city. So, but for the bar crowd and the going out, I mean, the weather's perfect. Everything's perfect.
Well, it's neat because you're like, for both venues, actually, it's like an open window kind of like patio environment. Like one of the bars is literally in a patio, and so everyone's out there eating outside. It's warm. It's not, you're not freezing because of air conditioning. It's just a nice, awesome environment and just really cool. However, though, I must say that I don't think I'm going to make the trip on Memorial Day weekend again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, so going into Boise and coming out of Boise over Memorial Day weekend was hairy. But just population-wise, we're not talking anywhere near as big. And so I can only imagine getting into the Phoenix metro area.
So I left on Tuesday, which was smart on my part. I wasn't necessarily planning that to avoid traffic, but the drive down was easy. It was nice. I was driving mostly at night. Like, I got to Vegas when the sun set. And so from Vegas south to Phoenix, it was just warm nighttime air, open the moonroof and you can literally see the moon and the stars up there, and just a really cool, nice drive. On the way back, though, holy cow, dude. Like, I've been kind of watching. I used to struggle with road rage. Like, I'd get pissed at people and, flip them off and bright them with my brights if they've been driving up on me with brights and all that. And like, I used to have a real issue with it, and I've been trying to stay on top of that and keep it in check and just
try to stay zen.
Stay zen, exactly. But on the way back, holy cow, there were so many idiots, so many just, like dudes driving going 90 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour in a 65, and just.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not sure which way you came back, but I know that like going into Phoenix, at least from the north, coming from like Vegas and through like Wickenburg and stuff like that. I mean, it's like 2-lane, 65 mile an hour highway for a large portion of it.
You always have the one dude that'll pass like 7 cars in a row on those 2-lane roads.
Yeah, and so it does get a little sketch down there because it's windy and the roads are narrow and everybody's, hauling ass because it's kind of just open desert. And it gets a little sketch out there.
So like going down, I took that route, and it it's nighttime. It wasn't that bad. I had 1 or 2 people that were just, bad drivers that, no big deal. What is what it is. But on the way back, holy cow, I took the 10 all the way up to Flagstaff because I was going to buy those mics.
Right.
And I was listening to a book and I kind of zoned out and didn't realize it, but I kept going north, and I thought I was heading over towards Vegas, but I didn't realize that Flagstaff was as far like in the center of Arizona versus kind of up by, it's not before Boulder, is it Wickenburg, or there's one little city that you come into that you have to go through.
I'm trying to think that far north, maybe like Sedona or something.
Something like that. Anyways,
I don't know.
I went to
don't quote us on our geography.
Yeah, it's bad. I kept going north and didn't realize it, but I was heading up towards like the Grand Canyon, and I thought I was going in a route that would eventually take me to Vegas, but it wasn't. It would take me up. If I would have stuck on that road, I would have gone up into Utah through like Crater Park or whatever that one is.
Right.
Kind of a back route. And so I get to this, there's like an Indian reservation with a gas station and a few other things there. And I pull over, I fill up, and I pull out my phone, and it looks like I'm right by the Grand Canyon. And there's a route that you can take that will take you up through there and kind of cut across before you can't. So I went to go across. I started driving up towards the Grand Canyon. Come to find out, they charge $30 to go through the Grand Canyon now.
Oh Lord!
And I guess that went into effect in like 2015. But I've driven there 4 or 5 times. I've been up there a few times. Never had any $30 toll before, and so I wasn't expecting that. And so that kind of put me in a.
It's pretty steep because if they're just sort of hijacking the highway.
That's just, they literally like cut a toll booth in front of the highway that was never there before,
Yeah.
And then, like I was not expecting that at all. Evidently, they have some signs way back by the Indian reservation that say it's $30, but I didn't notice them or whatever.
Right.
So I got up to the toll booth and I kind of gave a grandma some lip. I was just like, this is jacked. But, it was good. You got the views, got the selfie on, the Grand Canyon, the $30 selfie. So that kind of got me heated. And then it just was downhill from there because now I'm stuck in 300 car backup that took me way too long to get out of. I was wanting to go through Vegas because Authority Zero was playing there.
Oh yeah.
And so that
Love
was
those
the
guys.
that was the idea, was I was going to go and catch them, hang out that night, and then go from there. But I ended up rolling into Vegas 45 minutes after their set ended, so I missed that.
Nice.
And so
that sucks.
I kept driving, got all the way up to what's that city right before St. George? Nevada, right? The first casino.
Mesquite.
Mesquite. Get to Mesquite, and there's signs saying $35 hotel rooms for 100 miles coming up on Mesquite. So I stop, and I'm like, I can afford $35 for a hotel room. Get there, they're sold out. So I just kept going, got to St. George, and I was tired, pulled over and slept for a little bit, and woke up and drove the rest the next day. But the next day was just as bad. There's so many RVs and the dudes with the big ass truck towing the boat that has to go 90 miles an hour and pass you. Then you have to pass him on a hill, and tons of minivans that are just full of kids and horrible drivers. And I don't know. It just, Memorial Day weekend is not the time to go down to Arizona.
Yeah, no, I noticed that a little bit too. Up in Idaho, people do a lot of camping and stuff. There are a lot of big trucks pulling trailers and stuff. And, it's like folks just buy the bigger truck so that they can pull at freeway speeds. But the point isn't to pull at freeway speeds.
No,
you shouldn't be pulling
safe.
You shouldn't be pulling a 36-foot trailer at 80 miles an hour
at all.
Yeah,
and then they have
doing
the third trailer behind the trailer.
Yeah,
so
dragging the boat behind the trailer.
And you get that guy, and he still thinks he can just go 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And they can't stop on a dime. There were 2 or 3 incidents. I almost got in an accident where I was coming into Salt Lake, and this dude was behind a semi-truck, and just as I was coming up on him, he decides it's that time to pass the semi-truck and cuts out right in front of me. And I had to slam on my brakes and narrowly avoided missing him, hitting him. And same kind of situation. Dude was going 100 miles an hour coming up behind a car, and I was in the right-hand lane, and he passed me. The car that was in his lane saw him coming up on him really fast and merged over to the right, but he decided that he was going to pass the car on the right, and so the car merged into the lane that the dude was going to just, blow by him on. And so the guy had to slam on his brakes, and it was just too many close calls. I don't understand why people have to be assholes.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, in a holiday like this, especially if you're lugging around heavy equipment, boats and stuff like that. It takes nothing to just jackknife or to roll your trailer and then have it take your truck with it.
There was one a few years ago, kind of same holiday weekend kind of thing. I was driving from Pocatello into Salt Lake to see you, and in the span of 3 hours, there were 4 motorhomes on the side of the freeway that had just rolled. Bad drivers, wind or whatever. Just, it's you got all that money tied up into, your motorhome or your boat or whatever, and then you see it just in splinters on the side of the road.
Yeah, and beyond that, the lives of yourself or your family or your friends or the
people out there on the
random
road.
drivers. Yeah. It's just, you got to slow down a little bit. And,
yeah.
I'm a notorious little bit fast driver, and, I'm always catching myself and trying to fix it because takes nothing for something to go wrong.
The thing is,
something runs out in front of you or whatever.
Speed limit's 75 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
80's fine. 90's pushing it. 100, you're an asshole. You're insane. And the thing is you get those people all the time that do that, and it boggles my mind. But anyways, all in all, it was a good trip. I had a great time playing down there. Met a lot of cool people. Would definitely going to love to try and get back down there. Yeah. Once again, shout out to Jeff. Thanks for making it happen.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And yeah, I love it down there so much. I did get, because Mike is a dickhead, he sent me a picture from one of my favorite restaurants of all time. There's a joint down there. I think they just have the one now.
Yeah, and Chandler's closed. I was ticked. I was like, because I was playing in Chandler that night.
Yeah. I think they're just up in, what is it? I can't remember that. Maybe it's
Peoria
Phoenix
area,
proper, Peoria.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a place called Chino Banditos, and it's a place Mike introduced me to, but it's one of my favorite places ever. It's a Chinese Mexican food hybrid.
Yeah, it's a fusion restaurant. And so
Yep.
you get like you can get them rolled in burritos almost. You can, and then they have like hand grenade chicken is one of them. They got
you can get this
emerald
like
chicken's one.
Yeah, they've got a jade chicken.
The
that's
jade
like,
is good.
Yeah, jade chicken is like, it's kind of like a sweet and sour chicken, but you can get jade chicken burrito or quesadilla or whatever with black beans and rice. You know, it's pretty awesome, and the food's amazing. It bums me out. They had a second location. It bums me out that didn't work.
Well, I think what was happening was you weren't getting the same quality of food at the second location.
Well, the second location too, if I remember right, because I only went there once.
It was like in a mall.
Yeah, it was like like connected to a mall or something, but the mall was kind of sleepy.
Yeah,
and like
it wasn't
not a lot
high
of foot
traffic. And the one that they're at, I mean that. The reason I know about it was because when I was a loan officer down there, that's where we would go to eat. It was just up the street from there, and one of my coworkers took me there. And that's like, you get people coming from all over the place just to eat at that original location. And I mean, even on, when I got there, it was like a Monday afternoon, and it was packed to the gills.
Yeah.
Just really good food.
Yeah, and I spent a little bit of time. I had a client down there out in Deer Valley. They were called Arizona Color, and they did
wraps and stuff.
Yeah, they did a lot of vehicle wraps and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not right near there, but it was close enough that I would. It was whenever I was working with those guys. Yeah, I would dip down and check that place out. So definitely get out there and try some Chino Bandito next time you're in the Phoenix area. It's great.
Yeah, highly recommended.
Yep, for sure. So cool. Well, I think that's sort of a Memorial Day summary.
Yeah.
I think all in all, it was a good holiday. It sounds like Mike did a lot more work than I did. Trying harder to focus more energy on family and friends and relationship building when I have downtime.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is like, this trip for me was more of a vacation than it was a work trip. Like, that's why I took it and took the gigs, just because I knew that I'd get to good weather, I'd get to see family, I'd get to have a good time. I think it's really important to try and find time like that to get down and see people and everything. And I mean, Mike has a lot of roots down there and knows a lot of people from there. And, and same with me. I got to see my uncle while I was up in Boise. He was just recently in a pretty serious four-wheeler accident. Oh, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but he's pushing 70. He's getting older and, but really active and great health and everything. And he was
one accident at that age is.
Well, and he was out riding, and from what it sounds like, and I might be messing up the story a little bit, but he was doing like trail riding. I mean, he's not off, doing backflips or anything. He's just riding trails.
Hit the ramp at
But
50.
It sounds like he was riding along a trail, and the ground beneath him gave out a little bit.
And rolled
it rolled down off the side off of this cliff. And so he rolled down, it rolled over top of him.
Oh, man.
And then drug him. I guess it caught onto his clothes or something, and it drug him down the hill. And, he broke his leg and his knee, like shattered his leg, and broke his neck in a couple spots. Luckily, he avoided both death and paralyzation. I guess he cracked his C2 vertebrae, which is in your neck. One half of it is the artery that goes to your brain, and one half of it is your spinal cord going down.
Wow, that is lucky.
And it was literally cracked on both sides. So if it had broken, or if a shard had come off and punctured either one of those, he could have been paralyzed or dead.
That's insane.
And so he's very lucky, and he's a pretty important guy in our family. So it was, a real bummer that happened to him, but the best thing about him, he's my Uncle Jake, and the best thing about that dude is the positivity doesn't stop with him.
It's one of those guys.
He's just got the best outlook on everything. I mean, he just cheated death. He just, did all this stuff and still just super upbeat, super, taking care of himself, and just great attitude. And he's just a great person. And so I'm really grateful that he's doing better. But this is the first time I'd had to see him since the accident, so I was glad I was able to see him, spend some time visiting. And we don't see him or his wife Peggy very often, and so it was nice to sit and visit and wrap with those guys.
That's awesome.
And so so I was glad to have a little bit of family time. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we spent some time down by the river with the kids and everything, just playing, and down by the river in a van. And we rented some bikes and we rode up and down the river walk there and stuff. And it was just, cool, like kid time, family time, everything. And it was cool. So it was a nice little recharge.
Much needed recharge.
Yeah. Well, and, there's been some like recent transition in my life in terms of workload and stuff like that, and really transitioning back to being able to sort of 100% focus on my things, which is killer. And so we are, starting kind of a new business push and things like that. And so it's when it's work time, it's hardcore work time right now. And so
that's awesome.
So to be able to take that little breather and then sort of kick back off today, actually this morning on Tuesday, when this is being recorded, you'll hear it Thursday, but having that little bit of a recharge before hitting it hard again this morning, I think was much needed, and I'm glad we made the trip. So
likewise, the trip to Phoenix was great. It was a recharge for me. Like I kind of let loose on Saturday night, and sorry if I hogged the decks, Jeff. Like it was. I went back and looked at my playlist history, and there was a period where I played for like an hour straight, and I know how it is to share the night, and sometimes that gets frustrating. So thank you for putting up with me. And I had a few drinks too, and I let loose that night, and I don't normally do that. In fact, there was his girlfriend took a picture of us in the DJ booth. And I was telling Ryan, my default go-to when someone puts a camera up to me is I flip them off. And it's kind of a jacked up move, but that picture actually turned out pretty good.
I don't know. It's one of those moves, look at every rock group or whatever. I mean, that's kind of the attitude, just flip people off, get some attitude.
Yeah, but at the same time, I need to work on that. Sorry.
It should be hugs and smiles. You don't have to be so pissed all the time.
Peace sign or something, I used to do the rock, like the devil horns. And that never turned, I always looked like an idiot. So
yeah, that's a tricky one to pull off.
With
pictures. I mean, if you're like Glenn Danzig or Ronnie James Dio, you can pull off the devil horns, but not too many other people can do it.
I don't know. I got to get my style. I got to figure it out.
You got to find you. So anyway, with that, let's call it a week. Everybody take a listen to past episodes. We've had some really good stuff recently. I mean, it's been pretty knock 'em out of the park for the last few months, actually. I mean, we haven't really swung and missed in some time. I'm pretty pleased with the show. We also started doing our little micropod. We're calling it our micropodcast.
Ryan has started doing that.
I say the collective we because it's brought to you, but we're calling it Eggstra. Because we're super creative like that. It's brought to you by the staff and cast and crew of Eggs. And so even though Mike is yet to contribute, he's with me in spirit always.
I have made the first step. I downloaded the app and I created an account, and then I realized I need to log in with the Eggs account for it to publish on the right feed. And I never actually opened the document that has the credentials in it, so I haven't gotten that far. But I will try to make an effort.
We'll get him. Yeah. And so, but the purpose of Extra is just to, I've been doing just little 3-minute podcasts. You can do longer, but it's on this platform called Anchor, which is basically a podcast studio in the palm of your hand or in your phone anyway. And so it's a fun little platform where we can kind of drop little podcasts, from the road or whatever we're doing with just, our phone. Audio quality is maybe not as good and things like that, but it's cool. It's kind of fun to be a little on the fly.
It's more content, or like you think of something, you can just knock it out real quick. And
yeah, and it's a obviously a promotional tool for this, and but like the one thing I really like about it, and I haven't even started using it yet, but I think it's a cool feature in concept anyway, is when you get into the app, there's this little cloud of ideas, like show ideas floating by.
I sent you a text message about that, and I thought, what was it? Like the two ideas that were on top of each other when I signed up on my account was like topics to discuss or whatever. One was online dating, and the one right below it was depression.
Well, you do the one and then you get the other. Yeah. But anyway, it floats by with a bunch of different ideas. And if you see an idea that piques your interest, you can click on it and you can record your own podcast talking about that subject and use it as a thought starter. Or B, click another button and it'll find a co-host. So it'll randomly pull some other person from the app who's interested in talking on that subject.
I think that could be
It could be kind of an interesting segment or a little bit that we start to incorporate in this show.
You could get some weird...
Yeah, or you might land somebody really cool. You just never know who you get. And so it could be cool. So we'll probably experiment with that a little bit as we go. We can also do things where both Mike and I call in on the same show. And the one thing I really want to push that I hope people will start using, and I think you can just go to anchor.fm, find our show, and reach out to us. Or if you download the Anchor app yourself, you can actually call in and leave messages for the show.
Oh,
and
nice.
So
I was talking about doing that for a little while.
Yeah,
like
it's pretty cool.
Number where they can...
Yeah, and we might find other ways to do this because I don't know how much this Anchor thing I think is kind of new, and I don't know how much it will catch on or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but assuming it does start to catch a little bit, you can use their app to call into the show more or less and leave a voicemail for us. And then we can sort of have some interaction with the listeners of the show. That's something that we're working really hard on this year, in terms of growing the podcast and everything, is building more of a community, trying to find ways for us to interact with the people who listen. And, try and actually build a little bit of a community. So, but I think that could be a cool feature also.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun. We were talking at one point about putting like an 800 number on my car saying, "How's my driving?" Call into the show and leave a message.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. And maybe that's what we end up doing is just sticking that on the car. Or we've been talking a little bit about getting like a show van or something, and we could put a phone number on that.
My truck blew up recently, and so it's about that time where I need to reinvest in a new car, and I'm thinking, Sprinter van kind of thing. It'd be cool to rapid.
Get eggy with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so check out the Extra podcast. It's on anchor.fm, but you can get it on iTunes, Google Play, every place, the same place the regular Egg Show runs. So check that out and interact with us, for God's sake. We'd love to hear from you.
Send us a message. Tell us how bad we suck.
Yeah, we'll take that too. I mean, at this point, any feedback is appreciated.
Good feedback, yeah.
Yep. So without any further ado, find more information about the show, about eggs, at eggscast.com. There's also links to the extra show from eggscast.com. You can catch us at Eggs Show on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, every place.
Yeah, there's also a donate to the show button on there.
Oh, so yeah, we should talk about that a little bit.
Feeling like charitable and like what we're doing, we could use the help for some gas money.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and we're looking to grow the show, and we basically need some support, and so we've got some new sponsors, which is cool and exciting.
Audible's one of them.
Yep, Audible is one of them. We're working on polishing up a deal on another one, and so it's really cool. We're starting to move the ball down the road on this show, and it's starting to grow and catch a little bit, and so we're really excited about that stuff. But individual contributions, donations to the show, anything you guys can come up with is great. We're accepting advertisers and sponsors at this moment too. So if you've got a business or a product or service you'd like to promote, just hit us up. It's info@eggscast.com. And outside of that, you can catch Mike
at djontic.com. That's ONTIC.
Yep. And you can find me at r2mg.com. Well, you can find out about R2 Media Group, my company, at r2mg.com. And now the new ryanrogar.com, which actually just goes to my articles and stuff, so you can see what I've been writing lately.
That's cool.
So, yeah, follow us on all the socials, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Later.
See ya.